those guys that showed up for the job interview, not for the actual job itself. Dialed in with the equipment that we're really starting to realize which pieces are the most effective and which ones could potentially be a little bit overrated. And one of the pieces of equipment that we found to be the most effective is the one you're in right now. That's a loader with an Arctic pusher, or one like that sledge right over there. We just find that those things, these just have the best control, the most finesse, the best visibility, the best power, least wear and tear on the actual piece of equipment, so as we're using it, it doesn't feel like it's really straining or really getting pushed or worked hard. It's getting worked because that pusher itself is pretty heavy, but realistically it's not like slamming into piles of rocks all day long. And you know, another thing about snow plowing is it's a highly corrosive environment. The salt, there's always salt. You're always working in salt. So I kind of want Tim out down on the other side. I just want it to be the two loaders working in here, because I want to see if two loaders can beat the rest of the equipment that's on the other end, which is a skid and then two trucks, one with just a front pusher and one with a back pusher. It'll be interesting to see how well they do. Has a 2-foot bigger pusher and a little bit bigger piece of equipment. Doesn't mean he's not as nimble, but if I was going to say, hey, who should be doing the detail work? Well, the smaller machine with the smaller pusher should. Let the big machine with the bigger pusher push off the field, which is the general area, while the little guy goes around and gets all the details lined up. So the big dog can knock it out of the ballpark. Snowfalls like this, perfect practice. Perfect practice. This is where I like to train guys in on how to run equipment and how to learn patterns for snow plowing. These little snowfalls are kind of like a blessing in disguise. And it keeps your guy, you know, the other thing is they're kind of annoying, let's be real. Going out and plowing 1 inch of snow, there's nothing really cool about it, but it keeps your skills fresh, and it also keeps your guys working, and it also helps as a crew chief or a business owner. It helps you to see which guys are going to be Johnny on the spot for you each and every time, and which guys may be a little bit more hit or miss. Because if you got the same guys showing up, no matter if it's an inch or 10 inches of snow, they're just there doing what they got to do. That's pretty cool. But if they're missing, they miss an inch of snow, well, what's going to happen if there's 20 inches of snow and they're tired? They're probably not going to be the guy that sticks through it. Waddles like a duck an employee and you're kind of listening in, and one of the things as a business owner, the way we kind of view people, or at least I do, is one of the things I notice is the value that a person puts on their job. If that job's valuable to them, you can see it. You can feel it as a business owner. You know it. You know that that job's important to that person. But the flip side is true on that as well. If that job is not important to a person, you're going to be able to tell pretty quick. And really what that relates to is the fact that whatever importance that an employee puts on their job, well, if you have a good employer, they're probably going to put that same level of importance back onto you. So if you're one of those guys that thinks your job is important, well, I hope your boss notices that, and I hope he gives you the kudos and credit that you deserve, and puts that importance right back on you when you realize that you're important to your organization. But on the flip side of that coin, if you decide you don't feel like showing up, or you don't want to put the long shifts in, well, that kind of is a bunch of red flags to your boss or your foreman, whoever writes the name on your check, that you don't think that job is important, and you may not be treated as important as you'd like to be treated that way either. So sometimes it's a give and take. But a good boss should treat his people good, and in turn they should treat him well too. I think, I'm not trying to defend bosses now, but I think they get hardened. As the owner of a company, you can tell which guys show up to job interviews just so they can continue to collect unemployment. They're not there for the job. They're there because in the past, I don't know, it probably doesn't apply anymore, but in the past, you had to show that you were actually applying for work to keep getting unemployment benefits. I don't know if that's true or not anymore, but you could always tell those guys that showed up for the job interview, not for the actual job itself. Alright guys, well, things went pretty well. Hi Ricky Bobby. Are you getting down? In tonight's video you may have noticed that there wasn't a whole lot of different pieces of equipment running, and that's because we were short quite a few operators. A couple of the guys I knew weren't going to be able to make it in, but the third guy that was short tonight just decided he didn't want to come in. He didn't have an excuse. He just didn't want to come in. And I kind of wanted to get your opinion. I kind of sat on it all night long, right? I kind of been thinking about that. And you know what that shows me is that a person that just decides that, they just don't feel like coming in, so they just don't. They're not sick. They don't have any other excuse. Doesn't really value their job. And as the owner of a company, it kind of makes you not value the employee. And that's the exact kind of relationship that you don't want. At least it's the kinds that I don't want. So the real question is, how do you approach an employee like that? Is it A, discipline? Is it B, just firing? Or C, some other option? I want to hear from you guys, what you guys think. Because I don't want somebody inside of my business that doesn't feel like they're valuable, and I don't feel like they feel like this is the right home for them. So I want to make sure that I get the right people in place. Shh, everybody's sleeping. My voice is hoarse from snowplowing for about 4 days straight, but let me know what you guys think. And that's all we got for you in this one. God bless you guys. Go get them. Well, I wish I could say it was the end of the story with this guy, but it wasn't. We had another snowstorm shortly after we finished cleaning this one up, and I gave him another chance just to come in, just to maybe something happened. And he came in and he did work, but not the full shift. We get to the end of our job, and it gets to the worst part of the job. We have to all go out and shovel. Tim shovels, Alex, Jake, I go shovel, Frankie shovels. Everybody gets out and participates just to get through it, except he didn't want to. He said he had to go off and do something else. And I looked at him and I said, if you decide not to show up at the next job site, don't show up here ever again. And he stops and he looks shocked. And he looks at me like, what do you mean? I said, if I don't see you at the next site and if you're not willing to help with everybody else, you're fired. He says, you're going to fire me over that? And I said, absolutely. If you're not willing to do the same work that every other person in this company is willing to man up and do, then this company's not a right fit for you. Well, luckily he did show up at the next job site, but lots of red flags, lots of warning signs. But what I want to hear from you guys is, would you have given him a second chance, or would have fired him from the first go around? Because here's my 2 cents on it. If I didn't show up, if I missed one snowplow event, I instantly and automatically get fired because the accounts don't get cleared, people get stuck, people could slip and fall, cars can have accidents. I'm fully responsible for that, and rightfully so, I would get fired. And I hold my guys and my team accountable to the same standards that I, as the boss and the company, are held accountable to. Now, I have a system in place that allows me, if a guy is sick or not able to come in, I've got people that can rotate in or out, but they've got to be sick. They've got to have an excuse. They can't just say, I don't want to show up. And that was 2 strikes right in a row on 2 job sites. So would you have given them a second chance in the first place? And what would you have done with them after that? Let me know in the comments down below. God bless you guys. Go get them. We'll catch you then.